Okay, now we're good.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so 12, 23, 21. Almost exactly a year ago. We are 20 days away from a year ago. Or 2 years ago, I mean. So this is almost 2 years ago exactly. So this should be interesting. Okay. Intention structures are the material and texture of thoughts, the raw mind before being filtered through linguistic mediums. Because of sociocultural conditioning, many perceive thought to be conducted through language, but in reality, language is only man's attempt at a transferable expression of their subjective intention structure. During the process of speaking, what you are trying to say could be sufficiently articulated in countless configurations because you aren't thinking, this is pretty good. Configurations because you aren't like I remember reading this and thinking, Jesus, that's really cringe. But like actually, this isn't cringe. This is good. During the process of speaking, um, what you are trying to say could be sufficiently articulated in countless configurations because you aren't thinking in a succession of words, you are thinking in a series of broad ideas which become approximately articulated for exterior translation. A common example, like this is actually what we talk like, so that is funny. A common example is when your mind generates a music structure riddled with. I mean, this truly sounds like something that I just said and it was converted by fucking Google into text block. A common example is when your mind generates a music structure riddled with the pure, unshaped texture of anger in response to something you interpreted as offensive. You then attempt to represent it with speech to only to over slash under exaggerate your feelings, demonstrating the gap between intention and action structure. Language, but in reality, language is only man's attempt at a transferable expression of their subjective intention structure. During the process of speaking, what you are trying to say could be sufficiently articulated. Oh, that's the same thing. I think we're just edits. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways, you get the gist. I'll stop.
It reads like a GPT prompt.
Oh yeah, but even more than that, it reads like something like it reads like me like ranting. You know what I mean? That sounds like one of those times where I'm out of breath and I'm like just like articulating,
Yeah.
articulating, articulating.
Done for now. It's not done. I'm getting tired. Um, you type your version of it back and send it in chat. I'm gonna go over a few of my critiques of it right now. Um, intention, interpretation, meaning, experience, those are all possible names. You gotta decide on one of them. Structure. I don't really know if I like structure. You could do construct. And a few other things you construct. I don't know.
Why can't you do
Think
two
about
times
words that
speed?
represent what they categorization, you know, one. Um,
You can't do it on PC.
Doesn't look like it. Why? Why would that be an option on the phone and not on PC? Isn't that strange?
Yeah. They forgot to add it.
What is it?
Like they just forgot to add it.
Yeah, it's just retarded.
obsidian needs work on, needs focus on examples, um, pure, experience structure. Um, yeah.
So this is the new microphone.
Whoa. Okay, here's some you put. The experience structure is a texture is the texture that constitutes thoughts as pure opinionated experience. Action structures are the expressions and intent and interpretations of one's experience. When one attempts to articulate an emotional network of thought textures, or your experience structure, only to over slash under exaggerate what you truly meant and felt by the situation due to the degree of accuracy in your ability to articulate your experience structure into language, or your action structure, any given experience structure could be expressed in any number of configurations, and the action structure collapses all that potential down into a single expression. For example, if someone angers you, you may feel a spark of rage in your mind. The rage can be calmed down as you respond politely, or you could lash out and hit them. Both expressions of the action structure are caused by the initial spark of rage with your, or what I would say now is which is your experience structure. Could perception structure be a better term for experience? Sounds more accurate. I think so. I'll ponder more. It was inspired off of Jung, who had mentioned the psyche being made up of perception and action, and we already have action as one half of it. Um, LMFAO, that's awesome. Where did he say that?
That was actually kind of funny because I remember perception structure more than whatever else we had. And I also remember making that discovery.
Okay. There are many archetypes as there are typical situations in life. Endless repetition has engraved these experiences into our psychic constitution, not only in the form of images filled with content, but at first only forms without content representing merely the possibility of a certain type of perception and action. Holy shit! That is ridiculous. That is literally, he was expressing the same idea with fucking one word different. That is absurd.
Yeah, and it was obviously just at that time we were discovering the ideas, and I just researching stuff for the first time. So of course I just stumbled upon on our ideas.
Yeah, and not just that, but like me and you have never seen that idea since that day, and somehow we found it right when we were talking about it. Like that should,
Yeah.
like that it is. This is evidence of statistical anomaly recorded. That is good. We calling tonight. The last few days have been really good. Gaining power steadily. Going to begin work on a rewrite of your paragraph now. Don't know why. Just got struck by lightning in the car for about 40 minutes and just flooded with sensations. Been pulsing with ataraxy for essentially the entire car ride, under complete control and overwhelmed with a multitude of powerful perception structures. We need to explore the commonality between perceptions and frameworks. Textures as separate. That's actually interesting. That's actually very similar to what I'm on right now. So interesting to see. I was working on a similar idea 2 years ago. Textures as a separate concept. Our main objective should be cataloging frameworks. Real. I don't know when or if I'm able to call. I am likewise doing a second Christmas with my grandparents. And by cataloging frameworks, do you mean writing all the existing ones down?
I see. When is that happening, or are you already in the midst?
It happens as we speak.
And
Meeting
yes, I do
family
mean just
members
writing down all the existing ones.
I haven't been seen in years. What a bundle of fun to have.
Yeah, framework that.
It's good that at this age, whenever I'm around family, I'll always be able to have alcohol to accompany it. That was 2 years ago. I'm going to ego death framework that lengthy social interactions give me. I'm not into ego death, just autoerotic asphyxiation. How do you achieve ego death through conversation? Give me that framework. Knowing the true power of ego death, it is probably a disgrace to call it that, but it is like 1% ego dissolution compared to a full-on ego death. But whenever I'm around other people, it feels like I've become a part of a greater organism that exceeds my ego and my sense of self, and individuality dissipates and becomes one with the collective.
Been achieving something like that through an enhanced version of the music structure translation framework, but it's no longer music
Bro,
structure
we really sound
translation.
exactly the
It's like
same.
an active form of music structure reading through language, and it's like peering into someone's soul. It's very interesting. Sometimes I'm able to perfectly mimic what they're thinking in music structure, and it's pretty intense.
That's actually a pretty good framework.
Yeah. It's so interesting to hear old ancient language like that used, just like in the same ways we would talk about it today. Like we were just still talking about music structure and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, very vindicating to hear that. Yeah, I've been trying to listen to people's thoughts other than their words or their perceptions or their actions. One woman complaining that her husband has been home for a week after having been at work consistently for years and just wanted to get back to work as she couldn't take having him home anymore. And I was just trying to figure out what kind of relationship must be like, what that kind of relationship must be like. On another note, I've amassed many dollars on this fine post Christmas day. If only they knew where it would where it would be going towards progress. This was the old recording setup. That's funny.
Yeah.
We haven't
Wow.
upgraded, thank God.
I've been thinking about getting back into cold showers.
Yeah, There's never a week that goes by where I don't think about maybe taking a cold shower, and there's never a week that goes by where I actually do.
Yeah.
uh, Frameworks
Now
are.
it's winter, so now it'll be real cold.
Yeah, that is definitely true. If I was gonna do it, sure as hell would not be now. Frameworks are the base of wisdom. Remind me to elaborate. Are the well, true. I don't know what I meant that exactly. Haven't read that yet. Having another Christmas will respond soon. These Christmases can't stop coming, can they?
Interesting synchronicity, just kind of weird. I've seen multiple memes about a drink called the mimosa the last few days for no particular reason. Um, like one was talking about. It's interesting you stop looking at memes because to me memes are an interesting source of synchronicities. But like one was just saying like when you're a bartender and you learn that the mimosa is the better drink or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, the point is just that I've seen multiple of them, at least three, and now suddenly it appears that I've made a mimosa or something very similar to the concoction mimosa on my own, just because I was just drinking blackberry wine. Thought, this would be good with orange juice, and apparently the
Ooh,
mimosa is
based!
orange juice.
Based!
It's when you mix alcohol with orange juice. Different, of course, not just straight alcohol, but you get the point. Anyways, it's just strange.
Wow, well, there's me yet again. Okay, that's interesting to see such a small scale version of just forgetting and remembering ideas, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. The endless cycles of you rediscovering the mimosa.
Jesus. Never knew I got mimosa synchronicities. The experience structure is the texture that constitutes thoughts as pure opinionated experience. Action structures are the expressions and interpretations of one's experience. When one attempts to articulate an emotional network of thought textures or your experience structure only to over/under exaggerate what you truly meant and felt about the situation due to degree of accuracy in your ability to articulate your experience structure into language or your action structure. Jesus, that's brutal. I'm not going to finish that. My framework is growing ridiculously powerful. Our most powerful discovery yet. Our next video will be on it and then non-dualism. I was just transformed that playing card games gives you as much philosophical knowledge as anything in a book. That must be what we've been missing. I was just oh, classic Christmas shenanigans. Which particular card games and who said that? Outstanding take. Rumi and Mimi said her evidence was that social interactions teach you a lot about the world. Well, yeah, I'm sure that's true. But I countered it by saying that card games are mostly silent and you don't learn much about the other person in them. How unbelievably fascinating the malleability of baseness. My Mimi was one life away from being so base. Read Red Ram Dass knows Carly Young has a 5 blind men and an elephant view of God. Yeah, for real.
This is legitimately the perfect medium for typing. Um, I wonder if Ryan would join this, because like it wouldn't need to put up with a wood feeling of forgetting something. This always happens to me after we extensively dive into the definitions of something. I can only realize what it is not and not what it is, if that makes sense. Like right now, I'm starting to forget what an and you know what's also weird? I can never remember your name for it. To me, I don't know why. I always want to call it an experience structure or interpretation structure. Even though perception structure works fine, I just can't remember for some reason. Um, but I just did. So, anyways, a perception structure. Would forgetting a thought and then remembering its texture, would that be a perception structure? Because we also need perception structure or thought texture. I mean, we need thought texture as a separate thing. So now I'm thinking, do we put that first? I don't know. Many thoughts here, but mainly.
That's interesting. Kind of the birth of thought textures, and it's very uneventful.
So some other examples of thought textures I would say would be like, you said you had a thought texture of playing video games, and it wasn't like you had a specific memory. It was like you had a collage of memories combined into one. It was like an abstract feeling of playing video games. Nostalgia is another thought texture. Different nostalgias have different thought textures, though. Um, the nuance between different types of anger are going to indicate their thought textures. Thought texture is just sort of the material, the flavor of thought. The difference between pain and happiness is the difference between their thought textures. And the way I understand it right now, a music structure would be the combination of all thought textures in the present moment. But I'm not sure if that's what we originally meant by it. What is your understanding of a perception structure right now? Because I've kind of lost mine.
Jesus.
My understanding is that they were there's no dichotomy between the two of them, where my memory of playing a video game and
You sound a lot
abstracts the
younger. I
feelings
don't.
I
I
have
wonder
about it,
why.
I would consider to be my
Weird.
perception structure, my music structure of that sensation, of that mental feeling.
No, I would consider your music structure to be, I don't know, maybe
ill.
that's what I meant before. Like maybe I would have agreed with you any other time. But right now, my view is, and I may have a different view in the morning. I've got no clue. But my view at this present moment is that a music structure is all of the thought textures combined for a given length of time. So like a music structure is basically going to be what you're thinking, whereas a thought texture is going to be different. Although I suppose because we didn't have a word for thought texture, that's no way what music structure could have meant. So I'm assuming what music structure meant even to me for most of this time is what I'm currently referring to thought texture as. But by thought texture, I kind of just mean singular music structure. And I guess a music structure would just be a collection of thought textures would be a better way to put it, because the first definition I had didn't do it justice, but this one kind of seems to. If you just refer to a music structure as more than one thought texture, although I don't even know if you could do that, because what we meant by music structure before was kind of one continuous thought texture. I don't know.
I don't know if they need to be.
Yeah, but my most recent definition.
So like, what is the perception structure going to be like? Because you said it's through time, so like, what is it, like 10 seconds, a minute, an hour? I feel like
Isn't based on time. I agree the time distinction is bad, but okay, so a better example is going to be the forgetting thought one. Okay, so you forget a thought. I'll do the video game one as well, but after. So you forget a thought. All right, so you get that feeling of whiteout. That is a thought texture, but that feeling of whiteout, also with the feeling of being a human, also with the feeling of breathing, also with the feeling of seeing, you know what I mean? Also with all the other feelings that are also in your mind, that's your music structure because it's a collection. It's more than one.
What I'm trying to say here is it's
More
like
than
all
one
thought
thought
textures at the same
textures.
time. I don't know
But
why
a
I'm so
thought texture
retarded.
is a singular version of it. So
as far as at that point, I don't see the need.
agreed. So wait. So you start a voice. So can you turn it into 4 times speed and catch up?
Right now.
But yeah, so I agree with you. I think that there's no need because at that point there's already a word for it, and that word is called just being alive, like experiencing. The word is experience. The experience of being anything is that. So there's already linguistic representations of that concept. So I feel like there's still something I mean by thought textures, but I'll try and represent it tomorrow, sometime when I'm in. It's interesting. They're like two different headspaces. One is for creating ideas, and one is for articulating ideas you've already created,
Must have been
and they're like
Boros,
two separate
right?
mind spaces.
Don't you think?
What context do you talk about?
What do you mean, retard?
Well, you weren't on the page, but now I see it. Yes. Yeah, no, I definitely think that was Ouroboros.
Yeah, it had to have been. Are your framework meditations just riding the wave? I find it hard to observe my thoughts because my act of concentration on thoughts, this is you by the way, silences my thoughts. It's a bit counterproductive in that regard if I'm trying to have neat thoughts to watch. Also, I've gotten back into writing stories and it is fascinating looking at the creation process from a modern lens.
Are you done with your framework? Whatever the last fucking thing we did. Are you done with that thing on doc? You finished with it? Also the story. But if there are thoughts interrupting your silence, well, then you use framework to dissolve them or boost them or save them or whatever you want to do with them. You use framework to touch them. But I find that Sub-Zero makes thoughts more common or hard to avoid. So I typically do Sub-Zero before the end. So perception structures, right? I would say that what a perception structure is to me is a perception structure is all of the music structure, all of the thought textures currently going on in the mind.
There
So
we
yet
go.
again, it is based in time.
There we go. I finally got it. It just took me a couple days.
Frame, one moment, an individual moment. There's only really one way to explain this, and that's whenever we say music structure, we're referring to the entire right brain process.
Okay.
Whenever we
That's a good way
say
to put it.
thought, so whenever another, like pretty much the most common example of when we use music structure is to say things like, I can see your music structure whenever you're talking and you can't say what you want to say with language. One of the most common ways we use it is to say, I can see your music structure. Another way we use it is when communication, we're like it kind of exact same example reiterated, but it is a bit different in saying like, I can't articulate what I'm trying to say, and then I say, this is not a correct representation of my music structure. So like that would be an example of a time we still use music structure, right? Would be a time when we're referring to the entire music structure. But when we're saying something like, yeah, that thought texture of forgetting something but still being able to hold on to it, that's a thought texture. So that's the difference. If we're referring to someone's soul
Individual and
or music
collective.
structure or mind or right
bitch.
brain or whatever you want to call it, then it stays
Speed it
as
up.
music.
Okay, I was a lot worse at talking back then. My God.
Yeah, we were just discovering those ideas for the first time.
Yeah, but that's not even like the ideas. I'm just like bad at talking and like kind of bad at thinking even.
Let me know whenever you digest that. You don't hear your opinion on that because if there are now three things, then we have to include thought texture in the paragraph. We need to write the paragraph a bit different, which I think would be good because I don't feel like the thought. I don't feel like the example of speech not working perfectly represents what we mean by thought texture, and I don't think the example of forgetting something perfectly mimics what we mean by music structure.
Shut up. Fucking talking all. We got, as Jock said, we got a chatterbox. Dude, I remember my wrestling coach heard me say this line one time, and he turned around, he looked at me like I was fucking insane.
You were saying out loud, thought
Yeah.
textures are neurochemical nuances in the same way
I
as
wasn't saying
strawberry.
it like I was reading it. I was saying it like I was literally saying it to somebody because like this line is like something I did think before I ever typed it out. And I was literally just repeating it for a conversation. Someone was asking me how do I not be scared before wrestling matches, and I was like, well, think about like thought textures as like neurochemical nuances. Like in the same way a strawberry has a specific flavor, so do your thought textures. And then my wrestling coach just turned around and gave me a fucking like, what the fuck is this kid talking about?
No, you're not used to flossing in wrestling.
So thought texture neurochemical nuances in the same sense that one strawberry to another has a specific flavor difference. Two different rage-fueled moments also provide a unique texture signature. An example of thought textures in daily life would be forgetting what you were going to say and then attempting to hold on to the remaining texture associated with the thought in your mind. You are still capable of roughly simulating the subtle distinctions of the last thought left on your metaphorical taste buds. Perception structures are all of the textures currently active in the mind interacting. That's a really good explanation of thought textures, honestly. Another way I just imagine it it is like in the way every single person has a unique thumbprint or fingerprint, right? The same way with thought textures, where even though you can be mad today and mad tomorrow, mad is not actually like a thing. So it's going to be there. Each one is going to have its own nuances. It's like a fingerprint, where every time you get mad, it's going to have a unique signature, a unique pattern, a unique sort of outline whenever you look at it or view it. And that's also what I'm referring to whenever I say how you can forget something and you can not be able to talk about it, not be able to remember exactly what you mean, but you can still kind of feel it there, literally, you know, as the saying goes, on the quote unquote tip of your tongue. Perception structures are all of the textures currently active in the mind interacting to make the overall texture of the present moment. Before representations or reactions, pure unfiltered input combined with the immediate sentimental impressions of the brain, experiential input of the whole provided by the right brain before the division of awareness by the left brain. There are no examples of perception structures properly represented in current linguistic models. There are no examples of perception structures properly represented in current linguistic models, although every neurosecond your brain generates a completely unique perception structure, an amalgamation of every internal and external input translated into thought textures. Yeah, I think they call these brains, but you betcha. Action structures are anything that happens after the perception structure. They are interactions. So that was the three categories. You had thought textures, music structures, which are just the collective version of a thought texture, and then you have action structures, and then the action structures, we split them down into two categories.
Yeah.
Jesus. I mean, yeah, these are all things. I don't know if you need this many distinctions.
Yeah, it's like a very detailed map of like the psyche.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever need the map, but it's there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you do at the beginning. Maybe, like, we couldn't have got to where we are now if we didn't split into this many
Yeah, like we
categories
were
first.
literally just saying, like, all right, this is what I'm noting about like existence itself. I have to put that down. We have to write that down. We have to label that. And then once we realize, all right, so this is the playground we're working with, then we evolve from there.
Yeah. It is interesting, though, how thought textures, like, that one never changed or left. Like, that one, since the moment that one came around, that one has been just solid.
Yeah, yeah, because it was kind of like the simplification of all of them.
Even in our own mind, when we are constantly trying to reduce experience into linguistic categorization, we are using action structures to interact with perception structures. With perception structures, creatures. Oh, there should be a comma or period there. Creatures without language will typically resort to using physical displays or interactions as action structures. For instance, when a cat arches its back and then bites you, are those both action structures? Those are both action structures. Physically translating. So basically, what I'm saying there is that you can articulate an action structure in lots of different ways. A cat arching its back is communicating for you to back up, and also it biting you is communicating for you to back up, and they're both action structures. They're both communicating the underlying thought texture or whatever. Those are both action structures, physically translating a perception structure riddled with anger or fear. For every perception structure, there are numerous configurations of action structures to express them. Yeah, okay. Wow, that's the end of that chat. But yeah, that's a good thought. What I'm getting at there is that you can say "I hate you," or you could say, "Please do not tell me to put a paperclip on the cereal. I know what I'm doing." And both of those are expressing the same underlying frustration with the annoyance of being told to do something that you're already going to do. That's what I'm getting at there. Is that you individual articulations are not the thing in themselves. They are only articulations of the thing in itself.
Yeah.
Which most people do miss. I mean, legitimately, this is like useful stuff, and this is like, I mean, hey, for fucking 16, not bad.
Yeah, yeah, it's very like technically practical, but like for like actual daily life, if you were completely aware of this stuff, you would be pretty good at conversations and like acting in the daily world and stuff.
It's
We
very
sort of
much
like
like
focused more on like the actual frameworky side of it.
the other philosophers, how they just like they'll just generate 1,000 words that are like kind of useful and kind of point at different things, but are also like jarring and unrelated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, we typed this so many times. Oh my god, we were working on this over the course of looks like months. Wait, did I just click the
Yeah,
same
I
scroll?
remember.
Okay, so this is the one we just went through, and then there's this one. This one's got nothing. This one's got nothing. Ooh, we just got to Maverick, Ravenwood, and Jacques already. Holy shit.
Awesome. God.
Dude, it really is insane to think about the scale of these. You know what I mean? Like, back then, like 3 months was like years. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there was like 2 months before we met Jacques. Like, what the fuck?
Hello.
Back when there was good pacing to the show.
Yeah. I don't know how. Somehow it still feels like there's good pacing lately, but then you look back over it and it's like, damn, it's like 3 months going by.
Yeah.
Still feels pedal to fucking metal though.
So one of the coolest features about this app, Trevor, you start playing yours as well. Also, you can listen to them back at 4 times speed. So, like, this is what every communication platform strives to be.
Instant improvement of communications achieved.
Holy shit. I forgot what he sounded like. That's awesome. What's good, home slice? I ran and it was really nice. I felt like dude, Jacques, you could tell this was back when Jacques was like coursing with power. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like back when he talked like a fucking redditor. I ran and it was really nice. I felt like I had my mind in rhythm with everything else, and I just fit into the world. I realized it was largely momentum that was keeping me going, and I really only needed a small amount of conscious effort. The rest was taken care of by the universe. How long do you run for? Or only a small amount of the burden is mine to carry. I must align myself with the greater puzzle, and then my effort joins the current and benefits from it rather than oppose it. Bro, good God. Damn,
No,
bro, that
like-
sounds like some shit I'd say now. What are you saying?
Yeah, but with your conversations, is he not like that as much?
Nah, not as much. He is, like, he's he's still, like, 90th percentile intelligence of the entire world. You know what I mean? Like, he still is, like, the cream of the crop, and he is more intelligent than anyone else we've ever really talked to, but it's not this.
But
where
he's not figuring out the greater puzzle.
Yeah, he's not, like, literally just, like, reaching the top of the framework mountain on accident. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I did 8 miles. I do track. Damn, I just ran for wrestling, and mine was definitely the product of conscious effort, but I got a god complex boost out of being able to push through it. I think I remember that run. That was a really good run. Yeah, the really good runners seem to be those that can remain at peace on extreme physical chaos. It's like pain, because no different from restlessness and meditation, and then your mind and body stop contradicting each other, and you enter this kind of flow state. It's like rather than the pain accumulating over time, it comes and goes with every instant and becomes no more a nuisance than the inhale and exhale. I think I'm really interested in getting into the classic Jacques line that only goes away when he goes completely insane. I'm really interested in getting into ultra running later in life. I think there's a special kind of tool that is available when you learn. What the fuck? Well, I found my mouse. It was under a washcloth, apparently. I think there's a special kind of tool that is available when you learn unconditional patience/acceptance. True. But maybe physical. Like, dude, it's crazy. He was, like, slightly ahead of us. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird. Like, look at him. He's, like, actually Jock is out-godding me in this conversation. Like, goddamn.
Yeah, at that point he always had like more power but no ability to control it.
Yeah. What's ultra running? Also, I just meditated someone away, sitting on my front porch, and saw someone walk up to our driveway, probably trying to sell something, so I just continued meditating, and they saw me and walked away. Also, I described the effects of pain from mindfulness to be like you are zooming out on the sensation. It's like your brain wants to magnify the sensation and give it a label, like pleasure or pain, but in reality, the only thing that is there is merely the sensation, which is like a painting of feeling and sensation, rather than something objectively good or bad. I'm very interested in how people react to deviant behavior, like crying or meditating. Ultra running is races longer than a marathon, like 50 and 100 miles. I agree about pain. I think you have to slowly teach yourself emotionally that this is the case. Should watch some interviews of ultra runners. They have interesting minds, or it's a cool perspective. Yeah, anyone who can run 100 miles has adapted to some form of mindfulness. Anyone that's really good at any sport or art has to be, I'd say. They might not realize it, though. I jog 6 miles just to see my mom, sometimes more if I feel though my head isn't right and needs a detour. What's the relationship between practicing endurance and clarity? Or how does it help you keep your mind from disorder? This is directed at Devon, but all of you can answer if you like. I was practicing Wellerman on piano. For me, when I overthink It exhausts me. This was a good chat, bro. Jesus. A couple of fucking 16-year-olds having, like, conversations this intellectually stimulating? Gorgeous.
Yeah.
And brings me back to a simpler mind. Other times it simply makes me happy and calm by repeating a single rhythmic pattern over and over. When I can't run, I just tap my fingers on my wrist or a counter, much like finger running. Why do you think repeating a rhythmic pattern provides order or seems to cleanse? I find this as well. I think it's similar to singing or dancing or playing a game well. It gives something to focus on that doesn't take much thought. It's like water on an engine running 12 hours a day. And how do you think adding pain or discomfort enhances the usefulness? Is it tying the pain to inevitability and ease of running water? Is it tying the pain to inevitability and ease of running water? I don't know what that means, really. It is essentially the opposite of chaos that consumes the human mind in the rupturing of daily life. So simply knowing what comes next will give you ease, as this chaos is no longer present, and at least there can be declared in this act that there is a light in the darkness. Adding pain or discomfort for me is a way to quicken my step in a situation where speed is necessary, like falling into a frying pan. You'd rather not do it, so enhance pain at the heel of your foot to make your mind agree with you wholeheartedly, because anything done with only half a mind leads to regret. But if you were already in the pan, decrease the pain through focus and releasing of endorphins to tie it to something good, because you can no longer coerce yourself out of it. Like a spider on your foot, ask yourself, do you freak out when you see the spider? What if you don't see it but feel it? Do you even think as to if it was injured by your action? It's the two sides of reason. If you panic, you could save yourself from a nasty bite, but if not, you may get bitten. But the spider will be at less risk of death or injury, especially if it happens to be a ladybug. This was my personal challenge because I'd feel extremely guilty for killing a ladybug over my irrational actions. Well, that's weird. Why would you feel more guilty for killing a ladybug than a spider? Curious, but do you find guilt over killing the ladybug and not the spider, or guilt over killing a living thing in the first place? And it's interesting you say that, because earlier today when I was meditating, I tried to get a spider off me and kill it on accident and felt bad about it. Like, what are the odds of that? Also funny you say that about music. I was just listening to Jordan Peterson a few minutes ago, who looks at psychology and politics from a Jungian lens, and he was on the Joe Rogan podcast describing the relationship between chaos/order and music, as he was trying to describe why music can be such a religious experience for people. What do you think about Jordan Peterson now? He's so interesting because he literally used to be so on the money. Like whenever he would talk about metaphysics and stuff, like he'd just break down crying at the beauty of it all, and then now she's just like, and those trans people, they're the perfect
What literally
representation of the
happened?
lack of
What
order.
literally happened, and it's absolutely amazing to watch. But the things that he was talking about and was warning against, which was ideological possession, he didn't
Literally
realize.
happened to him.
Yeah, it happened to him. Yeah,
Oh.
and yeah, he just completely just like got the Venom symbiote and just became what he is now.
Yeah, the Venom and the Benzo symbiote fucking pillaged him, dude. Sucks. Um, Music is essentially the closest manifestation of genuine meaning we as humans can possess. It isn't like a picture or a form that represents some form of energy. It is the energy in itself. Schopenhauer, an old German philosopher, said just as much as well. Music is the answer to the mystery of life, the most profound of all the arts. It expresses the deepest thoughts of life. This is why the effect of music is so much more powerful and penetrating than the other arts. For they speak only of shadows, but it speaks of the thing in itself. True and real. Wow. I felt guilty over killing or hurting anything not human. I've been that way since I was little. And what are your thoughts on hurting a human? I despise people very much. Champs were proven to be kinder to those not other species. I am likewise. I take pleasure in it. Pleasure from what in particular? Like emotionally hurting someone, like torture? I see people like ants, but they're actually large enough to cause problems. In addition, their numbers have outgrown their environment. I also just like the society built by them and would like it to be returned to nature, so I take pleasure in their removal. If only he could have admitted how gay that was. Like, he's not even, he was never wrong. It was just like, but you can admit saying that is gay, right? It was like, he just couldn't. So if humans
Yeah,
are,
and you put in like admit like, all right, well, what's the actual practical idea of that? All right, let's get those philosopher kings and start beheading everyone. Like,
yeah, it just was not practical. It's like the fucking Israeli Palestinian people who are um, like trying to go back to fucking it's a Five Nights at Freddy timeline, and they're trying to find like the original points. Like, yeah, but like what do we do now? Okay, okay, even if the Palestinians were there first, like, or even if the Jews' bones, you know what I mean? We can carbon date the bones of some Jewish person to be the first one in Palestine, fucking 2,000 years ago.
yeah,
Like,
unless
what?
you pull out the time infinity stone, we're dealing with today right now.
Yeah, but what are we gonna do now? It not only
Though I will, one thing I was always thinking about in the modern day, thinking back on it, I definitely agree with Devon's point. I'm sure you'll eventually say in this conversation. But if we had like underground cities, that focus more on nature, I would be completely cool with that. I'm all
yes,
for
I
that.
would.
Thing.
So
On the second match, I threw it and I won by that.
yeah.
On the first match, I threw it and obviously it wasn't great, but that was the first time I had ever thrown in a match, so I didn't really expect it to work.
Okay, so did both of your matches get called pins?